Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to our NCE training courses. I'm today's host, Stan of NovaStar. Our training will start soon, and the topic today is 4K solution. To provide you a good training environment, we sincerely suggest you to keep your audio on mute mode during the whole session. And also, please scan the QR code or click the link at the chat room to sign in. If you can't click the link, please copy and paste it into your browser. Feel free to leave your questions that are related to today's topic on the chat room, and we will reply you later on the Q&A session. If you have any other questions that are not about today's content, please feel free to send an email to nce@novastar.tech. So now let's welcome today's trainer, Miller.
Hello everyone, I'm Miller from NovaStar. Hello everyone, I'm Miller from NovaStar. It has been 5 months since that last NCE training. During this period, we have received many emails from customers asking for news about the second online NCE training. Now we are back. Thanks for the friends who have always supported NovaStar. Thank you. I'd like to start with a short introduction of NCE training to the guys who are not much familiar. The full name of NCE is NovaStar Certified Engineer. We have trained more than 3,000 individuals all over the world since it started in 2014. By giving multiple courses and valuable chances to embrace the LED control system, NCE's courses enable you to operate and maintain the equipment independently. Because of the special situation, this year, we hold the training online. We are hoping more techniques could get knowledge and a certification even in the hard time. This term, we will have 7 courses and the final examination. You could get online training certification if you sign in for 6 courses at least and pass the final exam. I hope you guys can go to all courses to make a good score. Today, we are going to talk about the 4K solution. As we know, with the development of this industry, the pixel pitch of the screen becomes smaller and smaller, from 3.9 to 1.5. So the same size screen will have more pixels on the screen. And the 4K resolution screen becomes more popular in our daily life. But there are some discrepancies for the 4K resolution. Strictly speaking, the 4K resolution is 4096 by 2160. But the UHD resolution is used more in our daily project, and it is also very close to 4K resolution. So normally people will use 3840 by 2160 to define the 4K resolution. And after we learn about the loading capacity part and know the basic function of screen connection in NOA LCT, we should know how to design a project. And here we want to use the 3840 by 2160 For example, to introduce how to do a project design. Is there anyone who still know how to do a solution design? Before we do a solution design, we need to know some information. And for my daily job, I want to introduce some necessary and important questions. The first one, what is the total resolution of the whole screen? Please mark here the resolution, because we only focus on the resolution of the screen. So from this question, we can know how many controllers or outputs we need for this project. The number 2 question, what is the video source they will use? Because we know for different controller, there are different input connectors. So from this question, we can give the correct suggestion to the customer. Also, for some special projects, there will be some additional requirement. For example, if the customer wants the better effect on the screen, he will need the HDR function of the screen, and also the low latency and the 3D and so on. So this part is also we need to consider. So for a 4K resolution project, what kind of options do we have? What kind of products we can choose from NovaStar? Here, let's have a review. First part, it is 1080p level part. I think most of customers are using MControl 660 and VX4S. For controller here, they are both 2.3 million pixels. So we can calculate it. For a 4K resolution screen, we will need 4 controllers for it if we choose MControl 660 or the VX4S. But we know that for the on-site situation, we don't want too many controllers on site because it will need more cables. So if we want less controllers, what can we choose? For 4K by 1K level, we can choose MControl R5. Because the loading capacity of MControl R5 is 4.1 million pixels. So if we use this for the 4K project, we only need 2 to load the whole screen. And maybe sometimes that we just want one device to load the whole screen. What kind of product we can choose? We have 2 controllers we can choose. One is MControl 4K, and another one is Nova Pro UHD Junior. So if we choose the 1080p product to load the whole screen, what is the system structure and how do we set it by the hardware and also by the software? Let's see this structure. First, because the resolution of the screen is 4K, so we need to divide it into 4 parts. And for MControl 660 or MControl 600 to load each part. And in order to control them together, to set them together, we need the Ethernet cable to cascade them together. And we also need to consider about video source part. And for MControl 660 or for MControl 600, we will need a 4K video splicer which has at least 4 outputs, can provide 4 synchronous video source to each MControl 600 or 660. And after we finish the hardware setting, we need to set the connection also in the software. We need to use the NOAA LCT. We can see here, we need to configure full screen at the right upper part of screen connection interface. We can see here, quantity of screens. We need to configure this part to 4. Then we need to choose the first controller, the first MControl 660, and enter the receiving card size. But actually the size here is a little incorrect. Here it should be the receiving card resolution. So enter the width and height of the receiving card loading part. Then we go the right upper part. We enter how many receiving cards to load the screen in columns and in rows. Then we connect every receiving card as the real hardware connection. After this, we can send this screen connection to the hardware, to the MControl 660 or 600. And this is for one MControl 660. And we know that we need 4 controllers for this 4K screen. So we need to go to the sending card number and choose number 2. Configure it as number 1. We need to do this in 4 times. So you can see here, we finished the 4 connections. And you can see they are in different colors. Can help you to figure which one is sending card 1, which one is sending card 2. And there is a little tips, very important. You don't need to set the coordinate offsite of the controller, because this part, we need the video splicer to give the video source. So this part will be done by the video splicer. So we don't need to set it in the NOAA LCT. So we also have the all-in-one controller. What if we choose the 1080p all-in-one controller for the 4K resolution screen? Here we can see that we also need to divide the screen into 4 parts. And each VX4S or NOAA Pro HD to load 1 part. But the different thing is the cascading port. Here we need to use the USB cable to cascade them. And because there is the DVI loop port on the VX4S, so for the video source, we don't need the video splicer. We just need to use our PC to provide the DVI output to the first VX4S. Then use DVI loop port to loop this signal to the second VX4S. And same thing to the third one, same thing to the fourth one. So when we are using the all-in-one controller, we can see we don't need the video splicer. So on site, there will be less cables, less devices. It will make your project simpler. And after we finish the hardware connection of VX4S, we also need to set it in the NOAA LCT. And because the VX4S is all-in-one, and we also to make a special part for this series. You can see here in red circle, it is enable sync. When we when we enable this part, we can let the controller to know that what is the total resolution of the screen. So here we need to enter the value of 4K 3840 by 2160. And also we need to do the real connection as the hardware. And then after we finish this part, we need to send to hardware and save. But for some situation, we don't want to use the software because we have the LCD panel on the VX4S. So we can also set the mosaic to set the connection by the front panel. We can see this guide video together. First, we need to go to the output settings and enable the image mosaic and choose the equal or unequal. And this part, because the screen is divided into equal, so we choose equal and enter the total width and height pixels of whole screen. And for one VX4X, it loads 2 by 2 columns and rows. So we enter the correct value here. And we need to also give the correct loading array number for each VX4S. We can see, maybe this video is a little fast, so we can see it together. So first, go to the output setting and enable image mosaic and choose equal. Then enter the width and width and height of the whole screen. And how many rows and columns loaded by one VX4S, when you enter here is 2 by 2. And also the loading array position. For the first one, you should enter 1. For the second one, you should enter 2. So let's have a small review of this part, how to configure the image mosaic. The first, we need to control them by the USB cable and cascade them together. For the video source, we need to use the DVI input and DVI loop port. Configure the screen connection part of non-LCD of each VX4S and consider them as a separate screen. Set the first VX4S on the front panel. We need to enable the image mosaic. And here we need to choose the equal and enter the total resolution. Also the mosaic row and mosaic column. And give the first VX4S loading array position is 1. So same thing to the second one, third one, and fourth one. I think after I introduce how to do the mosaic of the VX4S, maybe the on-site it is very complicated. And if your on-site situation is like in this picture, I think everyone will be crazy, right? So some client will ask, is there any other more simple, less controller solution? We can choose the 4K by 1K level solution. It is MControl R5. Because the loading capacity of MControl R5 is 4.1 million pixels. So here we only divide the screen into 2 parts and only needs 2 MControl R5 to load the screen. And for the cascading, we also use the USB cable. And we also need the 4K video splicer to give the synchronous video source to the MControl R5. Because we only need 2 MControl R5 to load the screen. So we set them to 2 screens. The quantity of screen on the right upper part of screen connection, it should be 2. Then we set them in separately do the real connection as a hardware, then set to the hardware. And for the most simplest solution, I think it is one device to load the whole screen. So here we also can choose the MControl 4K to load the whole screen. But because the resolution of the screen is 4K, is a real 4K, so the video source, you should choose the 4K level PC. But maybe some situation you don't have it. So you need a video processor to scale the video source to 4K level. But we also have the 4K level all-in-one controller. It is Nova Pro UHD Junior. And because it is all-in-one, so it has the scale function. No matter your video source is 4K or not, you just need to connect the input and open the scale function. It will scale it to the whole screen. And for the software setting, it is very simple because there is only one controller. So we only need to control it one time and then send to the hardware. So let's have a review of the controller, what we have for the 4K level screen. For the 1080p level, we have the MControl 660, 600. This is independent controller. For the all-in-one, it is VX4S or Nova Pro HD. And for the 4K by 1K level solution, we have MControl R5. And for the 4K level, we have the MControl 4K and Nova Pro UHD Junior. And we can see the difference between them. The first part, it is the loading capacity. So this is the reason why we need 4 MControl 660 for the 4K screen, but we only need 2 MControl R5 for the 4K screen because of the loading capacity. And because of the different loading capacity, we give the different input port of the controller. For the MControl R5, we provide HDMI 1.4 and 6 gigabit SDI. So for the MControl 4K and UHD Junior, there is HDMI 2.0 and DP 1.2, the 4K level. So let's can see this small summary. The independent controller of 1080p level, the MControl 6600 and 660. For the all-in-one controller, it is VX4S or Nova Pro HD. And for the 4K by 1K level, it is MControl R5. For the 4K by 2K level, it is MControl 4K and Nova Pro UHD Junior. So this is the part of the 4K solution. And please scan the QR code or click this link at the Zoom message room to fill up the feedback. And we will record the video to this session. You can get the video link on the next session, or you can follow NovaStar YouTube channel to watch this video. If you have any further questions, you can contact the NCE email address.